All right, today we're going to talk about the cost of starting a lawn and landscape business. This has been a hot topic on YouTube lately. I've been seeing everybody talking about this. Everybody has an opinion. Friend Tigran mentioned it, and someone called him a fool for saying you could start with next to no money. And everybody has opinions, and a lot of people have opinions, and they haven't done shit. That's one of the funniest things. So many people have opinions about stuff, and they're people who haven't actually done anything. It's so weird. You're going to realize in your life, the people that have the most opinions actually have nothing in their life to found those opinions off of. They're opinions that they pulled from things they've read, and they haven't actually done anything. Anyway, I'm Jacob Godar. I have a lawn and landscape company in Florida and in Illinois, and we've spent a lot of time growing these companies, and we've had a lot of background in the companies in general. So this video is going to help you understand when you're starting your business, like how much does this actually cost? And I have a lot of experience in this because I started from nothing, and now we have a couple businesses that are going to do both north of a couple $1 million this year. So let's get right into the brass tacks of this. What does it cost to start a lawn and landscape business? First of all, it depends on what you're starting, right? Like if you think that you're gonna go out and you want to go 1,000,000 miles an hour and you've already got all these accounts and things, maybe you're gonna need a big mower to do all that. But that's not typically how it happens. Like that would be why you need the mower. A lot of people I see, they start a lawn and landscape business and they get an expensive mower. Like I don't even understand why. Why don't you just buy a push mower? Why don't you just mow small lawns at first? Why don't you just buy a used mower off of Marketplace? When I started my company, it was with a Honda push mower that was given to my dad for years of service working at UPS. And it was when I started the business, that mower was probably 10 years old. The weed eater I used to start the business was a weed eater that my dad had found in the ditch when I was a little kid. I took it apart and used the engine to build an engine for an RC car and eventually put it back together, and it just didn't run for years. And then when I started the business, I fixed it and got it going. And all these things I had pieced together because I already had a house. So a lot of time, if you take an account of what you already have, you really don't need to spend much more. Like most people have a rake, most people have a wheelbarrow, they have these things. And so a lot of times it costs next to no money to start a landscape business. So the answer is, how much does it cost to start? It can cost zero. And even if you didn't have any of that stuff, it could cost zero, because I don't necessarily need to go mow a lawn. I could go and have no money, and I could start walking the streets, knocking doors, looking for little landscape jobs. And if they needed something cleaned up and I needed a rake and some tools, I could say that's a $200 job. I need $100 down and the other $100 when I finish up. And I could take the $100, I could go buy my tools, I could go do the job, I could go get the rest of the money, and I could just keep doing that, doing that, and doing that. How much money you need really depends on how hard you want to work, right? So the less money you have, the harder you have to work. The more money you have, the less amount of effort you've got to put in, because if you've got some money to spend on things, you could get more equipment, you could hire people, you could focus on sales, and it really flips this curve. You're going to work a different type of hard. It's kind of how it was when we moved to Florida this time. I spent all my time selling stuff, and I didn't spend my time just being out in the field because I was able to. It also was what exponentially allowed us to grow faster, because my whole focus was sell, 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 sell. So first of all, what type of business are you starting? I would suggest, if you're starting out, that I would try to focus on small lawns, and I would do little landscape projects, and that way I would need next to nothing, and I would need hardly any money to get started. I want to talk about this like you have no money. The more money you have, obviously, just easier it is for you to get started. So if we talk about how you would do this when you're broke, if you have a few $1,000s, you'll just be able to multiply it and go faster. Now, before we get into the second part of this, I do want to say, when I started my lawn and landscape business, I went from a full-time job. I worked part-time in that full-time job doing the lawn and landscape business. When I decided I was going to go full-time, I put in my resignation there, put in a 2 months ahead of time, said, hey, I'm going to be starting this business. And I went to going full-time in the lawn and landscape industry with 25 lawns. I was doing the math, $500-ish a week in season. And I was trying to figure out how I was going to live off of that and pay all of my expenses. And I just said, we're going to send it and we're going to do it. I didn't think that pretty much everybody around me thought I was crazy. It was also the thing that made me work so hard to make it work. And just so you know that there's no bullshit, I had a job. I cashed out my 401k. I think I got about $6,000 from that. I full blown just went at it. I was broke, and we were on food stamps for the first year, and trying to get our base established. And I remember the first few years, if anybody worked overtime, they made more money than me. So I'm not saying it's going to be fun. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but you can start with nothing and you can get to a lot really quick. And even if you would have taken that money away from me, it wouldn't have changed much. Yeah, it helped me get some things starting off, but I still could have just rolled up the things that I did anyway. Now, you're gonna wanna educate, you're gonna wanna do so many things so you can move fast, just like watching these videos. If I knew what I knew now, I could have nothing and I could start off and I could go 10 times faster than I did even with what little bit of money I had before, because I know so much more now. And that's one of the things when we share stuff, any of the lawn landscape people that have grown something and have got background and knowledge in it, now they could do much more so much faster, and there's so much information on YouTube. So first off, what are you starting? And depending on what you're starting, you might need a little bit more money, but typically in this industry you need $0. And if you want to fight me on that, dude, I would go with no money and start a business doing lawn and landscape, and I would fucking for sure be able to grow it to whatever I wanted. And I would love to be able to take on that challenge. I've all but done that before, and I've seen a lot of other people do the exact same. Don't let me saying I had $6,000 fool you. I had no money. If you've got $6,000 to start off, you might as well have zero. I know that will buy you some things. You could just as easily have a part-time job doing something and then do this on the side too to try to fund this and get this started. There's so many ways. Now, second, what I would make sure I focus on to make sure that if I didn't have a whole lot of money, especially if I had zero money, I was going to make progress, would be to focus on jobs that fund the business. And when I say that, what do I mean? Well, when you go and look at mowing grass, each lawn you add might add $40, $50, $60 a cut. And especially if you start off with just a push mower like I did, you can only mow such a big lawn. I don't look at those like funding the business. I've got to have 10 of those just to have $400 a week. That's money, but it's slower to pick up. I want to get those too, but I would ideally look for like $200 cleanups, $400, $500, $1,000 cleanups that I could do with literally nothing. I've been talking about all these other parts of business and needing a mower, needing this, just because if you mow grass, you do need some tools. If you're doing a little cleanups, you might need almost nothing. You know, if you got some kind of vehicle, you can put stuff in a trunk, you can pull a little mini trailer. There's so many creative things you can do with almost no money or no money if you go out, sell a project, get some money up front and start buying these things. I would focus on stuff that funds the business. It's how we grow our businesses now. We focus on projects that really bring cash into the business and allow us to propel our business forward extremely fast. Now, after you've done all these things, after you have looked at what you've just got rolling and you've started selling some stuff by knocking on doors, handing out your little printed out cheapo flyers just like I did. And here again, it's gonna be work. I walked the streets, I had blisters on my feet, I was walking in my cowboy boots, right? Once you do all of that and you get the ball rolling, then you just repeat and repeat and repeat. So to answer this question, final time, again, you don't need any money. You could start with nothing. You could get extremely creative. You can go out with a wheelbarrow. You can get a wheelbarrow on Marketplace for $25. I guarantee I can have no money. I could ask for $25 from a friend or a family member, or I could go sell something and have the $25 to get it, or I could just borrow a friend's wheelbarrow and I could get my business started. So be creative. Don't let the mindset of so many people that say you can't do things, you need this much money to do this. It's all just like everybody's thing is a story. If someone tells you you can't find employees, that's a story. If someone says you can't be profitable, that's a story. If someone tells you need $1,000, $10,000, $100,000 to start this lawn care business, that's a story. You fortunately get to write your own story. Make sure your story is a positive one that pushes you in the right direction in a world filled with negative stories that add no value to anything you or a lot of the people that are saying them are doing. Why do all these negative stories exist that people have? Well, misery loves company. And that means that there's miserable people out there that have went and done stuff and have not been successful. And so then they say, because they didn't have the knowledge to make it successful, that it doesn't work. Let's say that you can't make money mowing. You can't have a profitable mowing business somewhere, right? This is a story that's created off of someone goes out and starts a business and it is not profitable and they don't make any money. And then so therefore they eventually stop the business or they do something else or they keep doing it and they just stay unhappy. And then they say the story of you can't make money doing said business. That's the story they've created by living that life. That's just from what they knew and what they're able to do. That doesn't mean you can't go out there and do the exact opposite. I mean, that's something we've been able to do time and time again just with that one thing. Like we always hear, can't make money, you can't hire people. We always do both and we always keep growing. Make sure you write your stories right. Don't fall into the misery loves company and get out there and grow your business and don't listen to what people say it costs to make. This is a low barrier to entry business. That's why you fight with people that don't make money in the business, because it takes nothing to get in, so they think you don't have to charge anything to make a profit, and eventually they realize they don't make money. So a little bit of education up front, you can kick ass and you can start with nothing. I hope you've liked this video. I hope it's brought you some value. I hope it's made you realize that maybe 2023 is the year to start my business, and and I need to pull my head out of my ass and I need to just get rolling, right? And so if you've liked this, make sure you like and subscribe and share this with someone else that you know is wondering, should I start a business? Because what I'm talking about applies to a lot of businesses, right? A lot of stuff is a low barrier to entry, and especially service businesses. And share this with somebody that might need this. They might be wanting to start. They might be wanting to get into a service business. They might want to get into lawn and landscape. So share this with them so they can have as much success as possible too. And I hope you have a kick-ass day.